happy sound of Saturdays.
But it's not Monster Energy today. But we have a more pressing topic to talk about. They took my jump rope at the airport in Bangalore.
Unbelievable. Do you know, it's Bangalore that gave me trouble as well. Why do they take your jump rope? What were you doing with it?
So I did ask this. This was a weird security trip this time because I was taking off, normal, like taking my wallet, my keys and stuff like that out. And I generally throw all of my stuff in my bag. And then I took my watch off and I'm putting it in my bag. And the guy's like, put the watch on the tray. I was like, I'd rather put it in the bag because it's an expensive watch, right? I'm like, look, I have some trust, but not total trust. And I don't just want to leave it laying in a tray. Yeah. And it was weird because I put all my other stuff in the tray and then the guy's like, put your watch out. And I was like, well, I don't know if he thought it was maybe a smartwatch or something. Yeah, it was weird. So then we go through and my bag gets flagged. So they search it and the guy's like, oh, do you have a skip rope? I was like, yeah. And so he's like, we can't allow that on. I asked why. And it sort of makes sense. I just never thought about it. So you're not allowed to bring like long rope on a plane, which I've never heard of. No. And I've carried this jump rope through other countries. I've never had a problem with it. But also India has like, you can't bring e-cigarettes. So there's a few things. No. And it wasn't an expensive jump rope. It was extremely cheap. It was like a cheap plastic one. It's
your jump rope.
Yeah. And it wasn't even something that made me angry. Yeah. It was just, you were so taken aback by like, oh, yeah, okay, yes, yeah. I suppose you may take that, sure. But what was, because I was in India last week, you're going next week, and then you were there 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that. I had something similar, and it was, again, Bangalore Airport. First of all, they wouldn't let me in because they didn't have my middle name on my ticket receipt, and they were like, how do we know this is you? I'm like, well, look, it's my first and last name. You've got my passport. It is me. But they were eventually, after a bit of haggling, they let me through.
Do you print out?
I didn't have a
because I used to print.
So it was,
so I don't have a boarding pass, and they're like, scan your boarding pass. I was like, I don't.
I just had a receipt, so I was like, show them a receipt, and they're like, but this doesn't have your middle name, doesn't match your passport. This might not be you. I'm like, okay. So that was fun. But then I get through and go to security, and I have an old beaten up power bank, which is very big, and it's very high wattage as well.
You're not getting that through.
No, and apparently it wasn't. They've changed things recently. I think it was the 1st of October, and I was on the 30th of September. So it was literally the next day, and they said they've stopped this, and I was like, really?
So this would make sense because when I went to the Emirates counter to check in, there's a woman who was like right at the front who was like, "Oh, do you have power banks? This, that, that?" And I was like, I've never been questioned about it at this juncture.
They've just changed.
And so now this makes sense if they've just changed things.
You used to be able to take 15 power banks, apparently, in check-in lounge. Now you can take one, and it has to be under 100 watts.
Oh,
so my 111 one, which was a bit broken, they didn't like very much. And they started pulling it apart, going, this is all smashed, you can't take it. And I begged, and they let me through, but I don't take that one anymore. I have a nice new one.
No, I do have several power banks. I always forget to bring them, but a lot of times what they're allowed in... Yeah, so for India, it was like, I can't have it in hand carry, but I can't remember what it is. Normally, it's like you can't put them in checked.
You have to take them checked.
Hand carry.
They've just limited it as well, I guess, because they catch fire. But I rely on mine because my phone's a couple of years old now.
Same.
And so the battery lasts about a day. So I rely on a power bank to keep my tablet and my phone and
Your
my
phone
headphones.
still lasts a day? God, mine like starts to crap out towards the end of the day. I really need to get a new one.
Yeah, I tend to leave it plugged in most of the time. But yeah, I mean, so I need a power bank, and I've got a new one, which is actually quite good. But I was surprised by that.
I will say, and this is a compliment now that we've been bashing the poor Bangalore airport.
It's
the lounge.
Airport,
it is beautiful. And the lounge there is phenomenal might be too much of a stretch, but it is really good. Yeah, okay. They have multiple restaurant areas, multiple bars, cafes, areas to hang out at. It feels like this is a place I could hang out all day, and I could feel very comfortable being there, getting work done, like all this. So that kudos on that side.
Yeah, they're all starting to. I've been traveling a lot over the last couple of weeks. They're starting to blur into one a bit. Is Bangalore the one with the outside space where you walk through things and it's got sort of a lifted up walkway, and then underneath it's got lower down trees and things growing through?
Yeah. So when you walk from security and you go through the duty free area, then there's a few gates there. I've never taken any of those. Those may be domestic domestic would be a different terminal. But then, you walk across like a skyway.
Yeah. I really like that. At night, it's really nice.
I like it, but I do always feel it's a weird thing because I'm like, I'm in really cold, with the air conditioning, and then all of a sudden I walk out and you get like, Bangalore's weather isn't that bad, so you're not getting like horribly sweaty or humid or anything.
Do you know what I liked and what sort of brought home that we live in a desert is when I get to India, get to Bangalore, and it feels a little bit cold when I'm walking outside. I'm okay, you've acclimatized.
That is nice, though. And then, coming back from Hyderabad before, I feel like I'm just back and forth, but unfortunately this time I didn't get to see anything from India.
No, never do.
And you stay on campus for your job, so that's So we have the globe here for those on video that's representing a travel to India. But the topic that I didn't tell you about.
Yeah, surprised me.
It was the reason I was in India. And so I was there with Sapient. I've mentioned this a few times, that Sapient is creating, or now in the process of creating, our own products. Mm-hmm. I've mentioned this before with Slingshot. We have Bodhi, a few of these. And it's a fairly nascent org, right? It's being built up, and I'm part of helping lead the experience side of that. And so I was there to have conversations around, how do you think about these products in a suite? What does the interface look like? Who is it made for? These types of things. But what struck me, and I want to frame this in a certain way because it might sound rough, but I don't mean it to. Sapient is an organization in transformation itself, right? We help companies transform, right? Our whole purpose is digital business transformation. But when you move to a services, like professional services, to a product, there's a few changes. And sitting in the room, I did mostly listening. I like, let's say for every hour, I probably talked 2 or 3 minutes or something, right? So I do a lot of listening. And I noticed a few key things about this transformation. Like when you hire us from a professional services point of view, we are supposed to go in and know things, right? We're supposed to go in and tell you things. That's why you hire us, right? There is a skill set you don't have. And everything about our service is sort of going in, and whether you want to say consulting or transforming, but it is telling based on experience and skills that you have. Whereas for a product, you're usually asking a lot of questions, right? Like, who is this for? What's it for? And just that delta felt like all of a sudden I really felt it last week, where everybody was saying, here's what it should do, here's what it should do. And I sat there for my first hour and I was like, not one person asked a question. And I brought that up later in the room. I said, I think this is a change, a cultural change. And the organization is small enough and you're with the leadership team that maybe you can make a difference. The other thing, with a services-based organization, and I'm sure you have this with Infosys, clients or companies hire you and you have, let's say, a list of 100 features. Your goal is to check those features off, to build those features, but you're not really in there iterating on features, right? Versus if you are inside of a product company, it is really about iterating and finding the sweet spot for a feature. And again, that's just such a cultural difference. And I guess the last thing that I'll say is, going from a sales-based organization to a product organization, everything that we do within professional services, right? You have client partners. We get in RFPs, right? Request for proposals. Our job is to, let's say, talk to clients, spot these problems, and then bring those problems back. And you have a sales team that is responsible for that, right? And then you bring the problems back and you write a proposal. With a product, you're trying to solve a problem, but your releases are generally themed around a problem, or they are themed around a theme. But when you release something, it is like productizing is what I'll say, that release. Versus what I noticed is Sapient is a big company and you have 100 different client partners. So a sales organization throwing features at the product and just yelling about what needs to be in the product so they can go sell a deal. But there's no cohesive strategy about delivering that product.
Turn that around. So here's our features. You take those to market.
And that was such like, and just this week really pointed that out to me. And why I bring this up, it's not just about the transformation part. When we think about our long-running topic of why we started this of AI, I think this is why companies struggle so much right now. If I just think about, it's so clear, there's tons of books written on product and services companies, why it's hard to transition between them. What are the struggles? What I just said is nothing new. But now we're telling everybody, no matter if you're product or service, to transition, or whatever industry, to transition to an AI-based organization. There's not a lot of books written on that. We don't know what that looks like. And I think that's also why you see people grasping at straws or like feeling around in the dark. You just don't know where to go when there's no guideposts.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few things in that. That's good.
Yeah, pick it apart. Pick it apart. I have my notebook with me today, so
there we go.
I can start jotting down notes.
Do you know, I think there's a lifespan conversation there. And I think, so I spent my time with Sapient, and I think that what I experienced with Sapient, there was a definitive lifespan of the engagements that we'd have with clients, typically over a single project that sometimes turns into a second project, but they're, I'd say, typically in the sort of 6 to 18 month range where you're delivering something to achieve a specific business goal, and then if you do a good job, then you get typically called back for the next piece.
Yes.
And at that point, people would have a tendency to get a bit bored and say, hey, well, let's find some fresh blood. And
after 5 years, or they did the consolidation of
Which
vendors and all of this. Yeah, it's natural life cycle.
I'm finding, so Emphasis very much as a services company. We definitely do not try and be a product company, although we do have our own, I don't think I'd call them products, but
I bet you will. Yeah, capabilities. Yeah.
But they're more sort of focused services. Like we have our Emphasis Topaz team, which specializes in AI. There's a few thousand people there who build out things which we can then take to market. Are they products? They're certainly on the way there if they're not there. But the difference is, I think, what I'm finding is that the lifespan of our engagements with clients tends to be a bit longer, and thinking about more sort of a 3 to 5 year engagement for each initiative, which is relatively new to me. I've come from sort of shorter engagement periods, so it's a bit of a learning curve for me. And it's for me, the challenge is, how do I take the pressure, the impetus, and the hunger that comes from smaller engagement teams where you're driven to achieve value very quickly? How do we keep that hunger and that passion, but embed it within sort of a longer lifespan where actually your goal is then to maintain business as usual, keep developing along a more feature-led, release-led approach, but how do we keep it punchy? How do we keep it value-led? I think it's a great combination. Let's see how we play out. The AI aspect of it, I think, is closer to that. How do you change business as usual? How do you take the sort of operating model of a company and actually fundamentally change the tools which it brings to the table, using these springboards, using these agentic frameworks that we have at our disposal now? How do you make them part of business as usual, as opposed to being a release? We're going to put out this AI tool here, see immediate bing bang result. I think that's a bit of a misnomer. I think that's what everyone tends to chase at the moment. We've got to do some AI, heard this buzzword, I need to show that I'm doing something here. But actually, I think you're kind of alluding to it with the product approach here, I think it's a smarter thing to take a step back and think about, what are the tools that you're using? What are the things that you'll bring to bear on the problems, the challenges that you've got to hand? If you take a product approach, or if you take an operational approach, that fundamental shift is where the value is.
So now I've been writing down things. I can respond to that. What you just mentioned is another huge difference with product and services companies. We get called in for, let's say, 1 or 2 year deals. In that case, you can only sort of have a vision within 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
You can bring
politicians.
You can bring a vision to a company that is 5 years, but you don't know if you're there to see it through. If you are at a product company and the products that Sapient are now building, you see that where everybody is operating in the short term. What do we need right now? What do we need for this quarter?
Yeah.
But you don't see somebody have the sort of steward the vision of this, or really what is the end point. Part of that is because I think we don't know with all the AI stuff. It is so just, amorphous, ambiguous. And I was writing down, like, there's AI as support. Last week, AI as co-pilot, AI as coach, AI as support, AI as product. Back when this whole wave started coming, whatever it was 2 years ago, I think, something like 2 years ago, when ChatGPT came out and people started saying AI all the time.
Yep.
damn it. Where was I going to go with this? Product support coach.
Let me pick up.
Okay, pick on this, and I'm going to remember where I just wanted to go. I can't believe I lost this train of thought.
No, you'll get it.
See, it's because I didn't have my Monster Energy drink.
Lack of caffeine.
Yeah.
I like the politician analogy because it's effectively politicians have this 3-year term where they're driven to do something, and that if they don't achieve it, they won't get their next 3-year term, or their party won't then continue. So I think there is something in that around the product thing. Say actually the lifespan of a product is far longer than this. You have a chance to build something more sustainable, something more long lasting. And I think if you get that right, and if you're given the freedom to develop it, there's a lot of power in it. That freedom is hard won though, as I'm sure you're finding now as you try to set these things up.
Well, yeah, and I have my notebook here, which has all the notes from this week as well. And there's all these discussions, like we have all these different products. Or sorry, I say all these. There's sort of 3 main ones, so it's not all of them. But still the conversation that you would normally have as a product company is like, who is this made for? One of the things that you see is this was started being built by engineers, and it is very much an engineering product. And even during the last week, one of the biggest things was the executive team was like, we need to sell this. In order to sell this, we can't have it be such like an IDE, an integrated development environment. And the engineering team, you could see, was like having heart palpitations because they're like, we need to show everything here, right? Like this is a dev tool. And one of the comments that I brought up is, I was like, look, for better or for worse, people see products like V0, like Lovable, a little bit of Cursor, that's still, Cursor is a little bit more engineering led. And the perception is my 8-year-old daughter can use this to build an app. I can vibe code, right? And I said, that's what you're fighting against. When our executive team goes out, that's what other executives have in their brain that AI tools do. And the entire engineering sort of leadership team was like, but that's not going to be good code if you don't know what you're doing. I'm like, doesn't matter.
Let me tell you, let me just interject. I watched Janitor sit there yesterday doing exactly this. I have no point to make. She was sat on hugging. She sat on Hugging Face generating an app, and I was just watching it generate code, looking at it, going in horror, looking at what it was doing as it made this huge, sprawling, monstrous code there, and I'm looking at what she's doing, going, why would you build like that? That's horrific. I would never release, but it works. And I'm like, maybe I need to get off my high horse.
But that's where the engineering team, coming from their perspective, right? Like, and everything that they said was correct for that user group.
Yeah.
Where I think, whether you want to say UX, designers, whatever it is, comes in, is our ability to say yes, but like, and it sounds so cliche because it is, you're not the user, right? And we sort of, went back to what ChatGPT is, the single box, or, Perplexity or anything, right? I just want to say, like, I can, can I build something? And they're like, but it's not going to be good. Like, that's okay.
Does it work?
Like, we need something that will sell. And these are the competitors that we are up against. And if the competitors look like they are incredibly easy to use, and ours looks incredibly difficult to use, it doesn't matter if ours works better.
This is Betamax, this is VHS.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a great moment. Like, it doesn't matter if ours is better if the experience doesn't fit the perception that people have. And it was one of the few times that I thought to myself, yep, this is why design exists. This is why I'm here. I can see the value in paying for my plane ticket now.
Well, good. Do you know what I am seeing on a sort of related note? I'm seeing a lot of with financial sector companies waking up to the idea that functional isn't good enough at this point.
Ooh, okay, we're going into this one now. Okay.
So we do a lot of implementations using quite heavy-duty solutions, things like Finacle solutions for financial services, but they are very functional. They're very out-of-the-box implementations. They do what they promise, and they do a good job of it. The workflows are proven and trusted. However, when everybody's doing the same thing, you don't stand out. And that's where design has the ability to elevate, to differentiate, and to really lift the value of your offering. And I think people are really starting, not just wake up to it, really starting to embrace it.
You are literally describing the strategy that I have, that we have right now within Sapient. I mostly work in financial services, FS, from UK to Australia, concentrated though in the Middle East. And that is one of the biggest things. Like we have all the pre-built flows for, if you're in commercial or corporate, like payments, corporate salary transfer, international payments, domestic payments, onboarding, mandates, company profiles, signatories, all this type of stuff. Right. And then you go into retail banking and wealth management and equities. And we have all this pre-built. But what you just said, when you have a commodity, which those experiences are, there's only two ways that you differentiate a commodity. Do you know what they are?
Tell me.
One is price, which you don't want to be in because that's a race to the bottom. And the other is experience, right? And experience can be brand and marketing and these types of things, right? Like Kleenex and that type of stuff. But those are the two things. And that's what we have been walking into every pitch with. That, you're going to pay a premium because of that experience that we bring. And we lay that out. And that is something that gets our foot in the door. Every single client we go into, we build out flows. In some cases, we'll take it into Slingshot, into the product, build out working demos so we can walk in and say, here's the difference that you get with us.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And we're fortunate, we're blessed with the tools we have now that we can quickly get to something tangible, quickly get to something real. And we have our own versions of things like Slingshot, which help us to get there. Our agentic tool chain is really how we connect the pieces together, but the speed with which we can get to something that you can actually say, okay, I've got this idea in my head, what does it actually look like and how does it feel to actually test it out? I've never seen anything like it in sort of 30 years of developing, so it's promising where we can get to with this.
I think it's one of my peers that I work with, this guy Pratish, has been putting together all of these tools, and it's insane. He'll be like, check out what I did. If you send me all of your Figma flows, I can put it all into web UI. It looks like 95% like the Figma files, and then it's on the web. But what you do is you can just say, save this website like to my home screen. And then you can make it look like it's a native application. Like, yes, you'll notice it's a website if you're, a little savvy. But just that you can walk into a client and I can give him the screens in the morning. He'll work on it by lunchtime. He'll show me something. We can refine a little bit. And you can walk in the afternoon with a demo of this. Like,
something you can actually use to test and get feedback on. It's maybe not production ready, but it's good enough to test. The
delta between talking about how important experience is and walking into a potential client and showing use cases of other people's products versus handing them a phone with their potential product that looks 2, 3, 4, 5 times better than what they have and having them tap around. That's one of those things, like you've won people over if it looks good.
No, it's very true. Very true. I mean, people like things they can pick up and hold at the end of the day. People like creative. The challenge we have is that every client we talk to wants to see ideas. Like every client I've worked with in my history, every client wants to see, well, what's the solution? Show us the picture. Show what your ideas are for this. And the challenge is, well, we can do, but what you want is to work with us for a few weeks to actually get that thinking, to get that product put together. Because anything we do now will be rushed and it won't answer your problem.
This is a debate that I get in with people at work, and you tell me how you feel about this. With proposals, sometimes we'll go all in and we'll create beautiful design work, beautiful product work, websites, experiences, stories, and then the client will maybe sometimes ask for more, right? And there's this feeling that like, oh, they're just asking for free work, right? They want ideas. I am fine with that. I'm like, to a point, right? I'm not going to keep just sending free stuff over. But this whole idea that somehow they're going to take something that we did in 2 weeks and that like, oh, we can, now we're going to use this and bring this to market. Sometimes people at Sapien get very protectionist. Like, we can't send over our ideas. They might use them. I'm like, well, this whole RFP is about the entire delivery. If they knew how to do delivery, they wouldn't have this RFP. I'm not worried about them taking our idea. Well, they could take our idea and go to another client. All right. Yep, they could. Like there's a bunch of stuff that could happen. They could take screenshots while we're showing it. These things to me, my fundamental truth is ideas are worthless. Send them on out.
I think it depends on the industry.
I don't know if you agree.
So I think it depends on the industry. And my background for a long time was in marcoms, where the marketing idea, those definitely aren't worthless. And I will spare the company's name, but I remember sitting down with a head of marketing about 10, 15 years ago for a big automotive company who told us quite shamelessly that I will go out to market and I will talk to 40 agencies and get them to pitch their ideas to me. And I will take the ones I like and I'll take them to the company I want to work with. And we stopped pitching ideas like that because they were just being used in that way. If we didn't think they liked us, then we didn't want to waste our time.
I can agree with that. And I can agree with that because with marketing, it is that concept and that nugget and yes, that idea. And you can in that case take a screenshot and sort of take it to another company and say, can you develop this commercial?
But that's not the world we're in now.
No, but with tech, with delivering an application, delivering a real global, an application that ships globally is really difficult.
It is. The execution is all of it.
E-commerce in. And so that's why I think if we spent 2 weeks on an idea and they take it and they can get it out to market in 2 weeks, in 2 years, okay, but it's going to be 2 years. But you know what?
I think that free work is worth exactly what you pay for it. And I think the reason why I say that is because you don't put the value on it that you might have done. If you were working collaboratively with a partner, if you were spending your money, you start to elevate the value in your head. And I think you all commit a bit more. Let me finish that thought.
Okay.
But
all right.
When you pitch for an idea, I think you need to give enough there to show your capabilities, to show an idea of where you're going. It doesn't need to be creative output because I think it's dangerous to rush to creative output because you haven't had that engagement, that involvement. You're guessing based on best practice, you're guessing based on the industry, and you're guessing based on the little you know of that client, particularly when it's a new relationship. So I don't like putting ideas up front because I don't think they truly show the capability of the team. And I think you reduce their perception in the eyes of the client. I'd rather buy the time to work with them, do a discovery phase, do that 4, 6, 8 week discovery and get something really meaningful out of it. So I'd say sell a discovery, buy a discovery from someone if you're not sure you want to work with them. And at the end of it, you then know whether you want to commit to a 12-month plan.
What's interesting, I'm trying to figure if I agree or don't. And the reason I'm hemming and hawing, what you just said, like free work is what you paid for it, and once you actually invest together, you get something better. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm thinking to push back on that, when we do a proposal and it's a longer one, like a 4-week proposal, that is pure from our side. Mm-hmm. We have the time to figure where we want to invest, what parts of the story are important, and it is really about 4 weeks of just what is this experience that we can level up. As soon as you get into the contract, it becomes how quickly can you deliver those elements. And I think that actually when you work together, you get rushed and the work isn't as good as the proposal. So I actually think the work in the proposal is oftentimes better than what is delivered, but it's the give the idea away because they're still not going to be able to deliver it because of that paradoxical situation.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. It's good to have disagreements.
Tell me more.
So I think the trouble is when you're working for a proposal, when you're pitching an idea, you're working, as you say, purely on your own. It's one partner pulling really strongly in a certain direction, investing their time, investing their energy, and you come out with something usually pretty powerful, but it's often a direction where you've made a bet about whether that direction's right. When you work with a client, I think you both pull towards a direction that you share. And sometimes when you're pitching, you get it bang on. And if you get it really right, they buy it and you're successfully get the award and you deliver the project. If you get it wrong, and I had one of these recently where the team worked really hard to produce some ideas and the work was really nicely executed, was really polished in terms of how we presented it, put it in front of the client, and we heard back afterwards it really wasn't what they were looking for. The output was good, they worked hard, the team was really fired up, lots of energy, it just was off in the wrong direction. So I think I like it when we work together. I think we get better results. But I hear you on the time pressure.
And I hear you on that as well. We did a proposal for, let's say, an AI cooperative. I don't want to give too much away, but an organization of companies within the Middle East talking about AI. I genuinely thought this proposal was the most unique and novel work that I had seen out of the Middle East team. It blew me away.
Yeah, okay.
Like absolutely.
So to someone else.
Yeah, and we pitched it to the client, and of all the vendors, our creative work came in last.
Wow.
And
That's a slap.
I was so taken aback, but where I think we misread things is we went maybe so conceptual or so far out in the future that it was just hard to see the path of 2025 to what we were thinking about with like 2030.
Cool, that's quite.
Let's see. I thought it was. Yeah. I mean, again, mentally, I was like just blown away. But I can see that if I'm a company and I'm thinking, okay, I have to deliver results in 2026, 2027, that I can't really see the path to get there. And we did not do a good job on showing that path, leading that path. And so I think because of that, it just, I don't know, went over their heads sounds like it's too smart. I think we didn't do the effort to connect the dots.
Do you know, it might be my old age at this point, but I'm starting to get a bit jaded with the whole pitching process and wondering, I mean, I've thought this on and off for years, but I think that the actual pitching process, the decision is largely made before you step in the room, before you show anything. What you're doing is you're ticking a box to confirm a decision that's already been made. And partly, I think that we do our best work with clients that, I mean, there's no doubt, we do our best work with clients that we know and that we've worked with. We understand their brand, they understand how we work, and we can collaborate really well. There's no question about that. But I'm finding that we win things where the proposal isn't the best work we've done, the pitch isn't the strongest we've done, and then we've lost other things where I think this proposal is brilliant, this thing's so honed, so perfected, and the pitch presentation's gone really well, and yet we've not been selected. And I struggle to weigh those up. And then you have to find, well, what should our answer be?
I'm going to take this back to AI because this is our running theme. This idea of co-pilot versus coach, which I wrote down again and we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. How much of your proposals are done leveraging AI?
All of them.
All of them.
Every single
What do you use it for?
Oh, there's lots of things. So there's two halves of the coin I normally talk about. There's the first half, which is the AI involved in sort of empowering and...
No, sorry, like actually writing the proposal.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like, do you use AI to write the story, to write the slides, to write the content, to create any of the content?
A little bit. I use it as an accelerator. So personally, I use it as an accelerator to my process. So I will structure it and I will use AI to fill in the gaps, and then I tend to pick it apart and rewrite it. But it saves me some time. So I think I've said this before. I never use it as the start of a process or the end of a process. I use it quite a lot in the middle. So I would never get it to say, tell me the strategy for this client for how we'll be successful here. What I might do is say, right, here's the 6 bullet points that I think will make it successful. Flesh those out and give me interesting connective ideas to think about, and then I'll rewrite that.
What I like about that is it goes back to that conversation last week. The accelerator is the co-pilot, but the reason why you still maintain control of this is that sort of coaching side, right? It's you are the coach, let's say, of this proposal, and based on the relationship and based on the understanding of the brand and all this sort of, I don't know what to, this in-between knowledge, what do you call it? Tacit knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you make a decision on what direction to go. And I wonder how that eventually gets baked into the AI systems that we have, right? So much, like I feel so much of why AI maybe struggles, like it lacks that tacit knowledge, like the cultural elements of companies or groups or whatever this might be. And that's where that coaching part still doesn't exist. That's why you need the coach, because the coach helps pull the information out.
Yeah.
But with AI, you're still directing it. It's a great accelerator.
But I think there's an individual element to that. So if we had the same brief to go and say, oh, let's take I don't know, retail banking. The banks come to both of us and said, tell us what the strategy for our retail bank is going to be over the next 12, 24 months. We would come up with something that probably has overlapping features, but there's probably some differences in there. And that's because we come from different backgrounds. We've got different perspectives on things. There's things we share, but there's things we don't. Neither of us are wrong. Well, you're wrong, but neither of us are wrong, but we have a different take on it. And only really taking it to market and testing it will prove who's more right than the other one. that individual tailoring, if we were to take the same process of write down those 8 bullet points of the strategy, your 8 bullet points would probably be different to mine. Half of them might be the same, but I would bet that at least half of them would be different.
I want to write this down because what I really liked about that, in the Middle East, I think the procurement process is slightly different than in Asia or in Western countries, right? We have a proposal, we have what's called a technical proposal, which includes all the user experience stuff. It's not just the technology. It's really
not the commercials.
Yeah, it really is what I think of as the entire proposal, with the exception of the commercials, which for those of people who don't know what commercials mean, that's like the money part.
Yeah.
And so you go through an initial phase where you do the technical proposal and then you are scored, right? There's like a weighted scorecard, and the top 3 then go to the commercial side. And usually it's the cheapest wins, but not always, right? And they'll do I never heard this outside the Middle East, but maybe it exists. BAFO?
Yeah,
best and final offer, right?
Last price.
Well, yeah, and so where I think this goes back to the conversation about the differentiator experience can make. How much can you create an experience that drives a sale outside of that you come and hire you or me because of what we have in our history and the vision that we can create for that company within that experience. And that's something outside of the proposal process. It will show up in the proposal because it will show up within the experience side. And this is going back off the AI topic again, but I just thought it was interesting because a lot of times we'll get an RFP in and I think I need to contribute my particular vision to this, but I don't necessarily think of it as like that vision should be the driver that sells the totality of this project. But maybe I should be thinking in that way. Maybe that's been a detriment that I haven't been thinking in that way, that I've been thinking, oh, well, this is a team and we have our different capabilities and there's engineering and there's product and we all come together, and with, Captain Planet, we all come, or Voltron, right? We all get together, and that synergy between us provides why you buy the company, right? Why you buy Sapient. But if I maybe went a little egotistical and just said, nope, the experience needs to lead, because in the end, as everything gets more and more competitive, the experience is what helps you stand out from everything else. When everybody has all the same tools and all the same technology, and it's sort of all getting into a commodity of those pieces, this is where you stand. I'm going to go on an ego trip this week.
But I agree with that.
I agree with that. Ego.
So I'll caveat it. I do agree with that. And I think the trouble is that we all want to be in that situation where a client will come to us and say, I want you guys because I know what you can do, and the price doesn't matter to me. You tell us what it will take to do, as long as it's not ridiculous, then I'll pay it and you get me the results I need. The trouble is, to do that, you've got to be very clearly differentiated. You've got to offer something which they can't get somewhere else, which somebody else won't promise the same thing. And I see a lot of, particularly consulting companies, where their offering is so undifferentiated that you could essentially change the badge above the door. So I'm a fairly egotistical person myself. I fully believe you've got to stand up there and say, no, my idea is what's going to get you successful. And you make your bets and hopefully they play out. But the challenge with that is that I would say it's not experience that's the bet to make. And the reason is what I was saying earlier, because to get to a solid experience, you have to put the time in, the working process, the thought process, the development, to get to something which is tangible. But I think the business strategy, and it could be the creative strategy, the experience strategy, the outcomes you target, that's how I position pitches at the moment. Say, to be successful, to do what you want to achieve, you need to target these 4 or 5 specific outcomes, because that's what your users are looking for. It has to be user-centric. That's what your users are looking for to get the market share you want.
We're pretty much at time, but I'm going to bring this back and tie this up by bringing it back to AI.
Someone has to.
Yeah. So everything that you just said, everything that we just said in terms of that differentiation, I sense so many experienced people, well, so many products in general, think that AI is going to solve the problems by creating the experience, creating the layout, creating the application, creating the interface, whatever you want to say. We said something last week that I thought was great, which is AI is the culmination of all the existing knowledge.
Yes.
And what I have seen, let's say in music,
including
is where
rubbish.
Yeah, yeah. What I've seen in music is so much unique, innovative, sort of, I don't want to say it's a resurgence of the Renaissance, but so much innovative work within guitar playing. And maybe that's something that we can embrace with every sort of proposal or pitch or piece of work that we do with a client, is to say that it's not enough just to have a great story, a great concept. This has to go a few steps beyond, because otherwise we could be replaced by AI. And because of that, we have to push the organizations to think different. We have to hire for different skill sets. We have to hire people that have unique points of view or think different or diversity in a different way.
Topic. Let's do that one next time.
Do you want to close us out with anything or just wrap up?
I think that's good. I think that's a great topic to close.
We'll have to remember it. I'll bring the notebook back so I have my notes. Well then, Dunbar, I will see you next week. Enjoy India.
Oh, yes.